Okay, so this is Cynthia, and Cynthia is, and it's July 28th, and Cynthia is anywhere from 23 to 25. She has one child. She was labor and sex trafficked. She was living with a man for shelter. He was extremely abusive, sexually and physically to her. She was also in a domestic servitude. She kind of, how many years, Cynthia? I don't know how many years. That is blank. She wanted to become a nurse as well. Her education that she completed was just through elementary school, so she has very minimal um, education. She is currently free, and it is because of the cohort and this program where she decided that she is, she left her abusive situation. So she is currently free. What else? I don't know if I think she has a phone actually. Um, Cynthia. I think we gave her one of the water purification systems. Um,
She's not married, right?
no, she's single. Um, she is single, one child. We supported her, not we, but well, we as in Seraphin and Natali paid for her academic schooling year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I paid for books and textbooks and everything like that. I also sustain her monthly with $20 a month, which is enough for her rental of a room. I can't remember. We might have supported her medically.
We did.
We did? Okay. I kind of.
Yeah. Let me pull it up.
Okay.
We did for her. She had dental.
That's what I.
Dental
Yeah.
things.
Okay. That's what I thought. All right. So Cynthia has been she's run the she's had a tough time.
Mm-hmm.
That I know. Let's see. So you started with her physical and psychological health. Yeah, she went
Yep.
up 11 points physically, with happiness included. She went up a little over 14 points. Psychologically, she went up almost 9 points. And if we throw optimism and happiness in there, she goes up about 12 points.
Right.
And it has made a huge difference, Seraphin has said. She said that she has definitely seen differences on her outward appearance, psychologically, and
Okay.
everything, which is nice to hear. Um, so your concern is her stress tolerance and her
Her optimism.
optimism.
Yeah.
Well, her optimism has been pretty steady.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually went from a 116 to a 118 to a 123.
Right. Which is like a steady growth. I think that's pretty normal, but we just haven't seen that same change in her stress tolerance.
Right. So she's still stressed out, but her problem solving, let's see her stress. It went from 84 to 97 to 86. Now, she went to school. She was having problems with the child, her daughter,
Mm-hmm.
um, in that she actually sent her back to live with her mother, her grandmother. And I know that caused her a lot of stress,
Mm-hmm.
worried about her daughter and all of that. So her stress going down, it basically didn't increase. Let's just say that, it
Mm-hmm.
didn't really change. And it seems like she's still struggling with it. But it might be, the fact that, um, just the school. She started school. She had to let her mother watch her child. I think she
Right.
has her back. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure whether Cynthia's back in the area or not or what. I have to talk to Seraphin about that. I think she was one of the ladies who got a water purification system, but I'm not, don't hold me to that. Her problem solving did go up to a 96, which is actually in balance with her stress tolerance.
Yep.
Self-regard went up a lot. Okay, let me go back to your, how does she believe she has been able to incorporate what she's learned with her children at home?
As a child. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know why I thought she had 2 kids.
that's okay. I always have to relook at the charts, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Has this changed her outlook for her child in addition to her outlook for herself? She's always been positive, and Seraphin has said that she just always has something good and positive to say, no matter what is going on in her life, even
Mm-hmm.
during adverse. I think there was one time where she just broke down, though. Um,
I feel like I remember talking about that.
yeah, I think she was pretty guarded when she first
Yeah.
came to the cohort, and I think she was pretty guarded, and she a lot of times she kind of smiled and laughed, but it was her way of handling stress. And I think I talked to Seraphin about that. I'd have to go back in our session debriefs to see for sure. Um, for the children, yeah, playfulness workshop for the kids. We kind of touched on that earlier this morning in regards
Mm-hmm.
to doing things with the children. Playfulness would be extremely important. So let me go back up to with the kids. Um, Videos for kids. Let me add a workshop on playfulness. Okay, so there we go. I think it would be really, really important, and I think that would be a great opportunity for one of the previous cohort members to do
Mm-hmm.
that. Maybe in the new cohort, they could, when we talked about babysitting services, so to speak, they could
Right.
actually teach the current cohort's children, how to be playful and stuff, that type of thing.
Okay.
And what I would do is I'd probably do it or I would incorporate it all in the same workshop for the cohort members and the children, and that way it's being taught all at once, you know.
Okay.
But that's a great idea. Um, yeah, she did kind of balance. And let me see if she was the one who kind of went up and down, up and down. Um, she was
I
pretty
think
even. She was pretty
she didn't do
even.
that too much.
No, she was pretty even keel for the most part, wasn't she?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and
She
now
had like a few, but it was down, up and down by like a few points, nothing crazy.
and I think I was pretty impressed. Like I was taken aback knowing everything that's been going on in her life,
Mm-hmm.
that she came in at 100, at pre-test.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, um, the interpersonal composite, interpersonal relationships actually went up 11 points. I think that has to do with the cohort, as well as I don't know if it has to do with the child or not because it was so young, but
Yeah.
it could, it's a good question. She's always been very empathetic, Seraphin said.
Okay.
So, and her social responsibility, she's been pretty solid in this composite, really, right? The
Oh,
interpersonal.
yeah.
Let me look at that overall. The 5 composites. Interpersonal was, well, and decision making. In the pre, she was a little low, and she was a little spiked in the interpersonal. So she was very community oriented. I don't know where I don't know why she mutually satisfying relationships, 108, and yet she was in this horrible relationship. So
Right.
you kind of wonder how that might be. Why might
Mm-hmm.
um, um, Synthia have such a high interpersonal relationship score
Right.
when she was in such an abusive situation? That's a good question. I want to ask Seraphin. And I think what I'll do is I'll have a conversation with her. I'll videotape the debrief from Sunday, and then I'll have a separate conversation with her, a separate video on some of the
Okay.
things that we're talking about here, so you can actually hear her say these things too. It just doesn't seem to make sense, but who knows? I don't know.
Right. And that's how does it have to do with her relationship with her child, even though her child's young? Because you can see how it bumps up once she's like becomes more comfortable with the cohort, and that seems to make sense to me. But the the 108 to start off didn't really make a whole lot of sense.
And she might be an empath.
Mm-hmm.
Who and empaths really are do appreciate and understand how others feel, no matter what they're going through. You know what I mean? Even if it's a rotten, crappy adverse situation, if you're an empath, you're an empath. You really feel for the people. And it might be something that's just a natural part of her. And the social responsibility part of this composite, it might just be that part of being an empath, of knowing that she's part of the that she has to be helpful in the community. I mean, when you look at this, the one subscale that's lagging behind is the interpersonal relationships.
Right. So,
and even at midpoint, it didn't go anywhere until post, and then it increased.
Right.
And it became into balance, which was nice. Problem solving is keeping her out of whack. Assertiveness is keeping her out of whack. Stress tolerance is keeping her out of whack. But what I love about these scores is that her sense of optimism is pretty solid.
Right.
It did not fluctuate. Her self-regard was pretty consistent in moving up, increasing. Her assertiveness was out of whack to begin with. And the other ones were, well, actually they weren't. Now it's a little out of whack. Or her emotional expression. She's a little out of whack there.
Yeah.
Let me see. I mean, if we look at the 5 composites overall post, 120, she's a little out of whack, yeah. So her stress management and decision making, self-expression, yeah. Problem solving, stress tolerance, assertiveness. These are the things that we keep seeing. So that's why the workshop last Sunday. And hopefully we will see some improvement on these lower scores.
Right. But I guess it's not as shocking when her problem solving, and her stress tolerance were her lowest starting points as well. So she is going up.
Yeah.
It's just like her problem solving went up 23 points.
So. Yeah, and I think she's realized that she can solve problems in some way. But I think I think she probably allows stress, the external stresses of life. Maybe she just doesn't know how to handle stress. And that could be why her problem. I mean, there are probably other things in life that she knows how to solve solutions for. The challenges that come about. And she's like, oh, I got this. They don't stress her out. But then there might be some certain challenges that cross her path and they totally stress her out. And she doesn't really know what to do. And that could be why the problem solving is still at 96 in relation to the others. And, and she's still, I don't know. Sometimes I just have to say, I don't know. And wait for a 6-month post and see if things equal out a little bit. We did talk about looking at the growth in age groups and whether or not they have children. So that's another chart, really. Chart on age groups, chart by age, with and without children. Okay, there's a note. Seems that social responsibility is baseline higher in our cohort members with children. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, that's what we're going to look into.
So, social responsibility. Did you say? Let me see. Let me rewrite. See that. Okay, so chart social responsibility and identify by age and with or without children. Yeah. Okay. It's wonderful. It's nice to see her self-regard build up. Yeah, it is. Considering she was in a shithole of a situation, she was literally getting beat all the time, physically beat all the time. And she went up 28 points. She really, really pulled it together from midpoint on, you know. And I think I don't know when she started school. I thought it was in September of last year. It could have something to do with that. I'm not sure. Importance of sitting and just enjoying where you are at. You say, I love, love, love this. This is something we need to send out to the cohort. So I don't know where you got that.
You said that.
Oh, you mean in one of my videos?
Yeah.
The recent video?
Yeah, the one on Synthia.
Oh, okay. Because I did just mention this, and I see a commonality, and it seems to be consistent with a lot of different people that I work with in this program. Is that they just have a hard time living in the present. If you know, they're always like, well, if I could just get to this point, I'd be happy. If I could just do that, I would be happy. And I tell them, listen, you got to enjoy where you're at right now, because happiness, you know, isn't a product of acquiring things.
Right.
You know, happiness really is an internal sensibility. You know what I mean? And,
exactly.
And you, no matter where you're at, I mean, you could be in it. I almost think that Synthia is a really good example of this, right? Because she was really in a crappy situation, and yet she maintained her sense of positivity. But her happiness started to increase when she started learning all of these things. You know, it jumps from 75 to 106, 31 points, you know. And I guess if I could ask her something, I would ask Synthia, you know, why the large increase in happiness, you know.
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, can she identify it? You know, the reason or reasons. And I guess that's
a lot of different reasons that could be implicated there. So
yeah, it might be just everything. It might, I don't know. It might be because she's an empath, just the ability to speak with other people and hear what they have to say, and being able to, you know, just because you understand the importance of mutually satisfying relationships and stuff like that, and maybe just the application, actually applying it, maybe that granted her some happiness or peace or something. You know what I mean? Being able to give back, and that tug and pull type of thing, that playful back and forth. I don't know. It could be a lot of different things.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. In a meaningful way. She didn't have a voice before where her frustrations could be communicated. Now she has the confidence to do so. Yeah. Her assertiveness was 102. It went down to 98. But her emotional expression was a 92, and it ended at 121.
Right. So that's why I looked at that, and I wonder, like, how much of that is because when she was trying to communicate or be assertive in her life, you know, when she was staying with her abuser, was not something that she could communicate productively, and so her assertiveness came off more as an aggressiveness. And now she has a confidence and the know-how to communicate in a more productive manner, and she's in an environment where she can do so. So,
and it just might be that it's unfamiliar territories. You know, she was at 102, then she went up to 105, she went down to 98. It's just a slight fluctuation.
It's nothing too big.
No, but yet it's making her lag behind when it comes to the self-expression composite.
Right.
So I don't know. I can't see a reason for it. Um, I can't
I mean,
really.
how with
I
the group?
Yeah, I can't really identify anything from these scores. Um, it is the same as problem solving and stress tolerance. I can't say that it has something maybe to do with her sense of self-regard because that's at a pretty healthy score and it consistently went up.
Right.
Um, maybe she's just not maybe she's just not comfortable yet.
Right. Which is possible.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between emotional expression is the constructive expression of emotions.
Hmm.
Um, Assertiveness is, communicating your beliefs or feelings. Maybe she's just not sure of her beliefs yet. Maybe it has nothing to do with this not in a non-offensive way. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe this goes to falls to her self-belief system, and maybe she's just not comfortable talking about it. I don't know.
I feel like she's also probably never had the outlet to be able to even openly discuss it, where
Mm-hmm.
somebody even cares. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our cohort experiences that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that also poses another challenge in terms of assertiveness, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to communicate your feelings and beliefs when no one's ever asked you that question before?
Or it
Uh,
could it could also be that um, in a certain group she feels comfortable, in another group she doesn't. So maybe in the cohort she feels good about expressing herself or her beliefs, but maybe with her parents or family because she knows what she doesn't feel comfortable expressing her beliefs because they have a different belief system. You know what I mean?
right,
So there might
right.
be a little bit of tension. It could be something like that. But until you ask that question, you just really don't know. You
Yeah.
know. Um, hmm. So anything else with Synthia? Wait, let me see.
No,
Wait a.
yeah.
I think it's important to emphasize external factors like starting school, having her mother involved in childcare, and our data analysis narrative. Now, her mother is involved, but not with childcare because her mother lives in a different part of the area that isn't close by. So if
Okay.
she starts school, she has to, when she's in school, really to concentrate on her schoolwork and stuff. She has to allow her child to live with her mother.
Okay.
Which is too bad because it would be great if there were schooling available and there was also childcare at the school, you
Right.
know, um, which would help a lot of. I think it would relieve stress for a lot of
Hmm.
these young ladies who have children at a young age and want to go back to school. So I'm just going to make a note here: childcare
Okay.
in schools for younger ladies with children. I mean, that's definitely a challenge.
Right.
And, it's not like here where, you could live within I don't know, like a 10-mile radius or whatever the radius is, and you all go to the same school or whatever. Or, you have like 5 or 6 different elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, and all of that. There's like a school there and there's not another school for miles and miles and miles away. And um, so if a school isn't open where you live, you just don't go to school,
Right.
and with the conflict there, even less schools are safely opened,
Right.
which I did speak to Seraphin about homeschooling, um, you know, opportunities, which might
Okay.
really work.
Yeah.
Um, and that would allow childcare to be an easier solution, really, because you would have others who would watch maybe or you could do homeschooling in different times throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
and they could switch off with childcare. It seems to be more resolvable.
Yeah.
But interesting.
So
Okay.
what's the biggest barrier for the homeschooling? Is it like the materials, supplies, logistics,
It's everything, because
everything?
when the schools there are closed down, and or you're in lockdown or closed down, and if you do homeschooling, you could be um, putting yourself at risk, physical
Right.
risk of being harmed. Um,
Right.
but of course, there's also the financial aspect of all of the materials,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. There's also the logistics of people where they live, traveling in, not having money for taxi fares or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing is if all the schools were just opened, and then people would have their choice of, their local school would be open where they live. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, I don't know. I'll check with, we'll see what Seraphin says, what the outlook looks like. Now with COVID, who knows what's going on? So,
Right. Have they experienced a lot of that there?
I don't think they've experienced a lot of it. It's a, they basically shut down a lot of the countries in Central and Northern Africa so that it
Right.
would not be spread in. I don't know what the status is. I haven't asked in quite some time, so I'll
Okay.
have to check
All right.
and see. All right. So you think Cynthia's done?
I think so. I think we're moving quicker now.
Yeah. Okay.